Hello there, welcome to the Saroy channel. I've got an interesting story for you today. It's actually about someone who was really grieving the loss of their animal, and I think we can all identify that with that. There is nothing worse than losing a beloved pet, and I'm quite sure that a lot of you out there are animal lovers. And this Bigfoot encounter happened as a result of this woman's grief when she was grieving the loss of her beloved animal, and because she was just so quiet and still, she actually noticed a Bigfoot. So it's quite an interesting story, and I think it will touch your hearts because of the grief that she felt about her animal's loss, which I think we can all identify with. Do subscribe to my channel because I've got fabulous stories lined up for you, all about our favourite friend, Bigfoot. So let's get started. Dear Sarah, and all your listeners, my Bigfoot encounter happened here in Mississippi, recently in early June of this year. I'm sure many of your listeners will identify with the fact that 2020 has been such a challenging year for us. With the COVID-19 virus, all our lives have been turned upside down. Naturally, because of the COVID virus, I was doing most of my work from home on the computer. I was so lucky because I was never entirely alone. I enjoyed the company of my two beautiful dogs, Bully Boy, who is a min pin, and Noah, my golden retriever. One night at about 10 p.m, my golden retriever threw up violently in my bedroom, and so I let him out of doors, and to my surprise he went and lay in some bushes, like animals do when they're about to die. I was surprised that he never came back indoors, because that was not at all like him. The next morning, Noah was still lying in the bushes, and that made me very concerned. However, when Noah saw me, he was so excited and his tail was wagging, but he settled down and stayed in the bushes, which I thought was odd. I decided I would take him to the vet in the next few minutes, and when I returned to the bushes to get my dog, it was too late. He had already passed away. I was absolutely devastated. Losing a pet that is part of the family is the most devastating thing for anyone. However, with Noah, there were no warning signs apart from the jippy tummy in the evening, and the next day he's dead as a dodo. How can that happen? You just feel this total emptiness that cannot be filled, and like the death of someone you love, it really makes you feel totally numb. I have known people who've been so bereaved at losing a pet that they absolutely refuse to get another one because they cannot stomach going through that kind of pain again. I do know where they're coming from, but then again, without animals in our lives, I believe we would miss out on so much. My country home did not feel the same without my beautiful dog, and I really did not know how to deal with my grief. In early January, I had lost two members of my family that I loved dearly, and losing Noah was the final straw. I do not know how other people deal with their grief, but for me, going for a walk with my dog Bully was the only way to get any perspective. Why did life have to be this cruel, I wondered? Why was there such a horrendous thing called death? Why is it inevitable that someday the same fate awaits us all? Where was Noah now, I wondered? Had he met up with all my previously deceased pets in heaven? Was he now in another realm? Was God taking care of him, I wondered. There were so many questions flowing through my head that I had no answers for. I did wonder if when we die, whether we really do finally get all the answers to all the questions. I sincerely hope we do. When I'm sad, there is a secret valley that I go to on my own land that borders on some national forest. I go there to meditate on my grief, collect my thoughts, have a really good cry, and come to the realization that life can be beautiful despite the pain, and maybe because of it. Without pain, we really would not appreciate the joy that we have in our lives as much as we do. So more about the secret place that is truly my own. It's a tiny little spot on my land with a beautiful creek surrounded by a large expanse of rocky alcoves, one that goes up to about 50 feet, and from there gushes the most magnificent waterfall. I love to just sit on some large flattened boulders and listen to the gushing water and watch the white foaming spray caress the rocks. So on this particular day, carrying my grief like a heavy piece of baggage, I wanted to unload. I went to the creek armed with a thermos of hot coffee and with my dog Bully, and that was it. I sat there for hours just blankly staring into space and watching the world around the little creek go by, almost as if this little bubble I was in was all there was. And for that moment, it was comforting. I allowed my attention to focus on the little things, like a dragonfly flying across the water like a tiny fairy, and a little frog eating a fly. It was all very beautiful, I thought. I listened to the bird song and a chorus of crickets that were clearly unaware that it was way too early to be singing. On this day, I was focusing on everything with an intensity that is rare for me, like a little ant that scurried across my skin, and a curious squirrel darting up the tree, watching me with a keen interest. Hours seemed to me to melt away like butter does on a hot tin roof. I knew it was getting later, but I didn't care. I was in no hurry, and I wanted to just enjoy this perfect place for as long as I could with my adorable Minpin, who was curled up beside me. The pain in my heart for my pet's demise was raw, palpable, and painful. I truly felt I had been physically stabbed. That is how poignant my grief was. After a while, I found myself staring at a tree blankly, as I had been staring at everything all day, with that heightened, unintentional focus. The girth of the part of the tree looked almost moss-like and furry. It looked like something was clinging to the tree, I thought. Without thinking, I picked up a pebble and threw it at the mossy part of the tree. And my pebble hit the moss. It was a perfect shot. In that moment, the moss separated from the tree, and I saw a giant pair of arms, a big torso, and a slender, strong pair of legs forming before my very eyes. I was in shock because I had not really expected there to be an animal clinging to the tree. It was crazy because the creature had not even flinched or reacted to the pebble that I had thrown. It truly would have remained stuck to the tree, and I wouldn't have even known it was there. It was like a chameleon because it was so superbly camouflaged to the tree, and its brown hair was the most perfect match. I wondered how long the creature had been clinging to the tree. Had he or she been watching me all this time, I wondered? But what was this creature? I had never seen anything like it in all my life. I would say the creature was about 7 foot and 500 pounds. He had long arms like a monkey, but he had human hands, and the head shape was like a rounded cone, but the face was long and human-like, and his brown eyes appeared to be intelligent and observant. The creature had a look of surprise on his face, almost as if he was in disbelief that I had actually seen him, although I had not really, although he did not know that, of course. For a moment our eyes locked, and the creature held my gaze in a hypnotic way. His demeanour was very easygoing and non-threatening. I hasten to say that not for a moment did I feel fear. I had an inner knowing that all was well and that this creature was not a threat to me. He gave me one more glance, he took 2 strides on his long legs, and he vanished. I knew suddenly I had seen a Bigfoot, and I felt truly privileged to have had an encounter like this. It was weird that a piece of moss suddenly became a Bigfoot. I knew the loneliness and solitude of my grief had heightened my focus on all the fauna and flora around me, and only because I took some time to be quiet and still that I even got to notice that the tree was hiding the secret before my very eyes, Bigfoot himself. A day or so later, I went to my secret spot where I had seen the hairy man, and I placed some bananas, apples, grapes, and granola bars at the very tree where I had seen the creature. I know he got them because the next day they were gone. Every year on the same date, in memory of my dog Noah, I'm going to gift this Bigfoot under that tree with fruit and granola bars, and I'll keep you posted because maybe my story is not yet over. For all your listeners who have beloved pets, treasure them while you have them, love them and enjoy them. If they die, grieve their passing, but do not be sad for too long, because in the end of one life is the dawning of a new life. Do not be afraid of the new, and do not be afraid of loving another animal, because each creature we own will teach us so much about ourselves and make our lives ever richer for having known them. I dedicate this letter to my beloved dog Noah, who will be sorely missed, and to all your viewers' deceased pets that may be gone, but their memories still live on in us all. With lots of love to every one of your viewers. Until next time, good night.